LSU fall camp begins today. 2024 fall camp begins today. And sadly, we are not there. But we will be there soon. Making everything possible to make that happen. But not only that, we've got all the information. We've got all the info. We've actually starting to get footage coming in. Very detailed, very layered footage. Not just little clips, but like extensive practice footage. So somehow, some way, we're actually going to be able to do this justice. And that's how we've been able to do this year by year. Whether we're there or not, we try and make sure we cobble together as much information as possible and stay on it as much as we can, whether we're there or not. And so here we are. LSU begin their day one of fall camp. Okay, LSU in a kind of a reshuffling transition mode, right? Supposedly, they lose Heisman quarterback Jaden Daniels, they lose Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., they lose this guy. Okay, we get the picture, right? But is that the correct picture? I'm not too sure. This team looks a lot better than what I think the credit they're not being given right now. I think a lot of folks are focusing on the defense and haven't seen the actual progress there, or even know about the type of quality of players that we already had on roster last year. Just horribly misused. And so what you have now is, I think, a team that is kind of like a powder keg ready to blow in a good way. And very interestingly, Brian Kelly, after the practice, goes up and does his introductory first practice of fall, kind of welcomes everybody, all that type of stuff. And he brought the news, didn't he? I don't know why it took forever for someone to ask the question. If I'm there, it's probably the first question I'm asking. We saw Javian Toviano back. You've obviously reinstated Toviano, but what's going on there? Well, Javian Toviano was reinstated on Thursday. That's a news I should have been able to break. I dropped the ball there. All we would have had to do is just shoot one text, and we would have been able to break that news. And I completely slept on it. And that's just something I'm going to have to, suck on and be haunted by and remember in the future for the next story. But Toviano reinstated Thursday. He's back with the team, which is great news. Fantastic news. Even though you've seen Sage Ryan playing corner, and he's going to be playing corner all fall camp, according to Brian Kelly, after playing safety all spring, they're going to have him play all corner, all fall camp to kind of cross-train back and forth. I'm not a big fan of this. And of course, they moved Sage Ryan to corner, as I knew they would, to make up for the lack of depth there with Javian Toviano gone. Now that Toviano's back, which, he still has a legal situation going on. I think Kelly kind of bent his rules for once here to accommodate Toviano, because we're just that short at corner. And he was like, okay, this is the one guy he'll stay on the team even though his legal stuff is continuing. Former 5-star, we know this kid can play, and our position the position group is just depleted. And with Toviano, we still were thin. Without Toviano, we're frankly screwed with an injury, just even one injury. I like the guys that we got, Stamps, Woodland, and of course, Zion Alexander, but we haven't even seen the best from Zion Alexander yet. The other two are freshmen or just barely a sophomore. You really want to see Javian Toviano reinstated, and I did not think it would happen this quickly. It did. Big time credit for Brian Kelly for taking a chance there, and I hope Javian Toviano does not let him down for really sticking his neck out for him on this one. But some guys that really stuck out that were brought up even in the press conference, but also stuck out like on the footage, but stuck out so well on the footage that they just had to be brought up was PJ Woodland, who had an interception and a few pass breakups. Even though he had a bomb caught right on over his head, as Kelly was quick to point out, PJ Woodland, he said, is going to be a dude in the SEC, an SEC player. So if you're, wanting to hear stuff like that, hopefully the cornerback room will take shape and everything will be good. That's big, big, big bad voodoo daddy news right there for us. Woodland with a pick. And then, of course, Ashton Stamps had an interception on Garrett Nussmeier. The Woodland interception was on Ricky Collins, but fantastic to see those two stepping up like I was hoping they would. We wrote an article about literally Ashton Stamps and PJ Woodland being the DBU saviors this season, stepping up in the absence of Toviano and delivering. Well, Toviano, he's reinstated, but he was not participating in practice alongside Swinson and alongside Zay Alexander as guys who did not participate. Swinson wasn't even there, which could be explained for a myriad of different reasons. But very crazy, very crazy. You've seen these guys, these corners, young corners, really respond, really light up the field here. And PJ Woodland, he's just going to be a dude who's going to be making plays his entire LSU career, I have a feeling. He just feels like that type of dude. And Shelton Sampson, everyone is talking about Lacey. Everyone's talking about C.J. Daniels. Well, I was talking about C.J. Daniels. Everyone's talking about Chris Hilton Jr. We were talking about Chris Hilton Jr. too. Aaron Anderson. We love Aaron Anderson too. We love all these receivers. Xavion Thomas. We've got an even better receiving core, I think, than last year as far as depth. Of course, you can't say better than last year because we had Neighbors and Thomas Jr., so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not get crazy. But the wealth of options, the profiles of options, it's really incredible to me. I love this receiving room. And Shelton Sampson Jr. being an absolute freak within this receiving corps just jacks it all up, absolutely improves LSU's chances. Is just endless skill position talent, really just bottomless at this point. When you've got guys like Shelton Sampson Jr. showing out, you've got a freshman tight end like Trades Green, who, as Brian Kelly said, looks the part. He's able to really adapt quickly to things and to really make that transition from high school to college quickly with that type of body. Usually those players equal NFL success, college greatness, and that's what we're seeing from Trades Green. 6'5", 225, right? Something like that. And runs a 4.4. Like, this kid is going to be special at LSU. And we would be foolish not to play him or give him some snaps in his first season. Like, absolutely foolish not to run him out there at least, maybe 12, 13 plays a game. Why the hell not? I don't think anyone can cover him. Let's do this. Let's find that out. As we got into Sage Ryan, of course, cross-training from safety to corner, I'm really more liking when he's, stuck at safety, at free safety, not at corner or nickel. He can play those positions. I think he's at his best when he's playing free safety. He can actually make a lot more plays on the ball instead of, holding serve, blanket coverage. And there's going to be a lot better coverage than what we've seen in the last few years because he's gotten better as a player, and now we've got a better defensive coordinator in charge of running the show. I think you'll see the best of Sage Ryan wherever they put him, but I think you get the best out of him from free safety. Interestingly enough, though, the first team starters on defense, and this is going to really shock you. First team starters on defense, defensive line, Savion at defensive end, Jacobian Guillory and Geo Pates as the two defensive tackles, okay? And then you had Deshaun Womack, other defensive end. Linebackers, Penn and Perkins At the Star, you had Major Burns, which development we saw through spring. That's still staying the same. The corners, Sage Ryan, as we found out before, adapting back to that role at corner, opposite Ashton Stamps. But the safeties, Jordan Allen joining Jarden Gilbert. That is fantastic. I love Jordan Allen. I think he's a very underrated talent. I love to see him being given an opportunity like this day one. And from the footage, I've seen him make a few plays. Really good tracking ability, sideline to sideline, that I saw glimmers of at LCA, but this is the finished article almost. Like, this kid is becoming, coming into his own here. And Jarden Gilbert looked pretty damn good too. And I haven't been able to study all the footage yet, not even close to possible. I've only been able to watch like 20 minutes of the footage so far, but this team, there's a lot of speed on this team, guys. A lot of speed on this team. This team's going to be faster, more intense, and I think stronger, have more stamina than last year's team. But, that's why they play the games. Find this stuff out. The second team defense was Parashand opposite Gabe Relaford at the other defensive end position. And then you had Sean Washington at DT, and then Chemo Macchianoli, the other defensive tackle for the second team defense, a former O-lineman, cross-training, switched over there, and he's starting for the second team defense now. Pretty nuts. You saw guys like, Sean Washington thrown in there, of course. You saw guys like Preston Hickey. You saw a few of some of the JVR Suggs kind of rotated in and out in that second team defense. A lot of rotation, but predicated on guys like Parashand being in the mix. Linebackers, it was both the Weeks brothers, which is really, really damn cool. At Star, you had Juwan Johnson at Star, former LCA quarterback and cornerback. Juwan Johnson playing the Star position. That's sick. He's officially listed as a safety on LSU's roster. And then you had at safeties, Kylan Jackson. I think he's going to have a great season this year. Then you had at the other safety position, Deshaun Spears, a name that might be new to a lot of you. This is a new player for LSU and someone who I think might be really effective for this team. J.K. Johnson at one corner position, and then P.J. Woodland at the other corner position, as you know, had that interception on Ricky Collins, 2 pass breakups already. The first team starters for offense were, of course, Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback, who everyone is saying that he had a great first half of the practice and a poor second half of the practice. I'm not thinking it was a poor second half of the practice, and I haven't completely finished that footage, but I've seen the interception. The interception's it's mistiming. It's just complete misread by Garrett Nussmeier. I think there's also some miscommunication between him and the receiver. That's going to be figured out. That's going to be watched a billion times. Other than that, Garrett Nussmeier was starting off slinging that ball around and starting off strong. But, A.J. Swan, I think, made the pass of the game. The pass of the scrimmage where he threw that bomb down the field to Shelton Sampson. So you had Nuss at quarterback for the first team offense, Josh Williams at running back, Kyron Lacey, number 1 receiver, and he showed out today, was dominant, made a statement, made a point about saying, this is my receiving core. I'm the guy. Brilliant. And then Chris Hilton Jr. and then C.J. Daniels make up those 3. So you got Lacey, Hilton, and Daniels as part of those 3. Mason Taylor at tight end. And then, of course, the Power 5 offensive line. Will, Dellinger, TJ Chester, Miles, usual suspects. there's some interesting stuff as well. Some new numbers for LSU players. Parashand moves to number 0. Xavion Thomas moves to number 0. Ashton Stamps at 1. Jordan Gilbert at 2. Chris Hilton Jr. at number 3. And then Greg Penn III wearing number 3 defensively. Tribute to Greg Brooks Jr. That's powerful. PJ Woodland wearing number 11. Zy Alexander at number 14. John Emery Jr. went from 4, and then they gave that number to CJ Daniels, to 44, and now he's back to 22. So John Emery Jr. will be wearing 22 this season. Yeah, very interesting. So Parashand, Xavion Thomas, 0s. Ashton Stamps, 1. Gilbert, 2. Chris Hilton Jr., 3. Greg Penn III, 3. PJ Woodland, 11. Zy Alexander, 14. And John Emery Jr., 22. So, yeah, there you have it. We just gave you some pretty damn good info that most places will make you, pay and subscribe for and all this stuff. All we ask is that you support us. Subscribe if you can afford it. Retweet, click, like, all that stuff. Because we just gave you info most people make you pay for. We'll be right back in just 1 second. Give us some comments. Give us some likes. Give us some retweets. Tell us what you think. Could you give me an update on Deshaun Spears and the defensive line? What do you mean by that? Give you an update on Deshaun Spears and the defensive line. Like an update? I'm not sure what you're saying. Like an update on what? Like you gotta be more specific than that. Like the defensive line has been updated. Deshaun Spears, update. Like update on what? God, no wonder I'm not likable.